Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Welcome to our candidate forum for the upcoming election. Really thrilled to be part of this. I'm JODY KBL. I'm the new Community Voices opinion editor. Some of you have seen we launched Community Voices very recently, and we've actually everyone on the stage is a Community Voices writer. They've all contributed to talk about themselves and why you should vote for them. So after tonight, if you haven't read those yet, you can go and see what they had to say about themselves. We're thrilled to be doing this. This is it. Like you hear, this is democracy in action. It's everything that Lookout is trying to do to bring the community together, to discuss issues that matter to all of us, to be a part of this process of our country, to vote, to know about issues. So really proud to be doing this and proud that there are various organizations in the community doing this with us. So we have Hotel Paradox, who we're grateful here for having this room and this space. We're grateful to the candidates for sharing their time with us. Incredible Doug Erickson at Santa Cruz Works. So putting all the tech together, getting Zoom going, all the technical difficulties, amazing work there. Emily Ham at Santa Cruz County Business Council. So, and greatly, so thank you so much for being part of this. And we also have the Downtown Council. So Dorian Wilkins, I don't know if she's here, Dorian, but they were part of this as well. And of course, thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. So Chamber of Commerce, also one of our sponsors, and we have, who's here from the Chamber? Ilana, where's Ilana? Solon, she's here. Thank you so much, and Casey Byron, who could not be here with us tonight because his wife is not well. So thank you so much. And finally, thank you to you for coming out here, all of you who are here, for making this an event and coming to be here with us. So again, democracy in action, you are part of it. We at Lookout, we've also tried to work on coverage. Today, we had pieces on the supervisors, who we'll be hearing from next. We've also, as I said, covered the assembly races. So we're really trying to bring you as much information as we can about what's happening so you can make informed choices for the election. Again, June 7th, everyone should have their ballots if you're voting, and June 7th is the election. Okay, so now I'd like to, I also forgot to introduce Ken Doctor, founder of Lookout, who's here in the front row. This is my boss. Okay, so a few rules just to say. The candidates told me they're used to rules, so I'm not going to go as long as some of the places that they have been, but we do have a few rules. Just to let you know, we'll divide this into 45-minute segments. We're doing 2 segments, so we're doing the assembly race first, and then we'll be doing the 3rd district supervisor race. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the question asked. Emily, in the front over here, is going to be holding up signs. The candidates know this at 15 seconds, so she'll hold up the signs to let them know they need to wrap up and finish what they're saying. I'm not going to cut you off, but I am going to gently remind you to please stop what you're saying. Right? Keep going, I will do that. I'm not expecting any poor behavior, right? But as you said, it's that they keep being reminded not to behave well to each other, to be civil, and I think that's the legacy of a certain presidential candidate in a certain debate where rules were not always followed. So, but here I think we'll be quite civil and we should not have a problem. For the audience, if you could please just write down any questions that you have. We are going to be accepting questions, so we have some cards on your table. So if you have questions during the debate discussion, please write them down. We'll collect them. We're going to try to answer as many as we can at the end. Even if we don't end up answering your questions, same for the people on Zoom at home, please put your questions in the chat, and we'll be trying to incorporate that into the discussion. And even if we do not get to your particular question, just so you know, it's incredibly helpful for us to have them. We at Lookout, we're looking to answer your questions. So if we don't have time permitting to answer your questions tonight, we would like to know what you're asking, what you're wondering, and it's something that we could cover we could look at in our reporting. So again, the point of journalism, that's the point of journalism, to help you understand your community and to help you make informed choices. I'm working to be scrupulously fair in everything that I do, and to be giving everyone the exact amount, exact number of words, or close enough on your pieces that you wrote, to give you as much time as possible, to be really judicious about that. At my discretion, I'm going to try to make sure you all have the exact same amount of time, or close to the amount of time as everyone else. If there is something that someone says that you'd like to respond to, you'd like to leave that open to possibility, we'll allow that to happen. I just ask that you be civil. If I haven't noticed that you want to respond or haven't called on you to respond because it's obvious that someone has said something about you that deserves a response, just sort of indicate to me you're a little bit on the side, but I'm trying to look at you here and look at the audience at the same time. Indicate to me, and I will find a way to help you to respond to whatever someone says. All right, so let's get going. We're going to begin by giving each person a prepared 1 minute. They can do a prepared statement of 60 seconds. Prepared statement. So we're going to go in alphabetical order to start, and they're seated in alphabetical order. We did that on purpose. So here you go. It's Liz LAWLOR, you're first.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It is so nice to be here with you tonight. I want to thank the Chamber and the Lookout and for everyone involved for hosting this forum. My name is Liz LAWLOR. I'm a born and raised Californian. I graduated from UC Berkeley with a degree in political science. Since college, I worked in advertising. I've raised 3 children. I have 2 grandchildren. I've been a room mom, a den mom, a teen mom, and more recently, I was police commissioner, mayor, and a council member. All of these experiences combined have given me the diplomatic skills, the policy knowledge, and a true desire to make a difference in people's lives. I'm running for state assembly because we've had one-party rule for decades, and we are now living with the consequences of their policy first, figure it out later mentality. We have rising crime, rampant homelessness, a housing crisis, failing schools, high cost of living, the list goes on. And instead of addressing these, they double down on these policies and the needs of everyday Californians who want to feel safe in their communities, educate their kids, afford their groceries, or not being prioritized. I am running to change that. The choice is clear. Do you want more of the same, or do you want balance and a common sense leader who will prioritize you? I am that leader. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for being here tonight. Thank you to Lookout and the Chamber and Santa Cruz Works who sponsored this event. My name is GAIL PELLERIN, and I stand for equity, dignity, and integrity for myself and for others. I started my career in the state assembly. I spent more than 27 years as the chief elections official and was elected 4 times as a Santa Cruz County clerk. Now I'm ready to go back to Sacramento to do the important work of helping to solve the enormous challenges faced by our new Assembly District 28. After 35 years in public service at both the local and state levels, I'm ready to make a bigger impact driven by my passion for connection with the community and my desire to shape policy around mental health, affordable housing, healthcare, education, climate change, and public safety. I'm honored to be endorsed by U.S. Senator Padilla, Congress members Eshu and Panetta, Senator Laird, Assemblymember Stone, and other current and former elected officials and community leaders in both counties. I am honored to have earned the endorsement of the San Jose Mercury News, Teachers, Nurses, Labor, Planned Parenthood. And that's it. You're at home.
Thank you, Rob.
Hi, I'm RENNIE. Thank you for having me. I'm an engineer of 25 years, 6 of that innovating products for the solar industry. I'm currently the mayor of Los Gatos, and I've been on council for 8 years, or I'm in my 8th year. I'd like to emphasize the breadth of experience in government. In my years in elective office, I've served on many regional boards relating to transportation, housing and community development, climate, air quality, emergency preparedness and management, ag and open space preservation, and efficient delivery of government services. From my years as an engineer, many as a project manager, I developed a passion for solving problems. A key skill as a project manager was getting people of different perspectives, opinions, and skills to work together to solve problems. One of my biggest achievements was solving problems was founding Silicon Valley Clean Energy, which was electricity provider. And when we formed it, we immediately saved greenhouse gases 34% over what PG&E would have given. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Joe Thompson. I'm a 19-year-old student at UC Santa Cruz and union organizer running for this great state assembly seat for this district. I'm one of the youngest candidates to ever run for this office. I'm, I think, 37 years younger than my other youngest opponent. And I'm running to represent my generation, a generation that is dealing with the brunt of climate change, dealing with affordable housing crisis, dealing with not knowing what to do about restaurant arms. And there's a lot of people in this room that I've already talked to who want to see young people really take the reins, rise up and lead a new generation of folks. And I think that not only is this campaign focused on doing that, we're focused on including everyone in this race. We're reaching out to not only students, but people who have never voted before. People who look into politics and wouldn't usually come to these forums because we're inspiring people to look at us and say, we want to be a part of that. And this campaign is focused on not only helping people, but making sure we are really fighting for working class families of this district and bringing everyone together. Thank you.
Okay, our first real question, we're going to talk about affordable housing. So, and the tension between what state wants and what is possible locally. So, California needs more housing in Santa Cruz, more housing, and Santa Cruz needs more housing. The need is acute and pressing. The state is getting tired of waiting for anti-growth communities, including Santa Cruz, to add more housing. In 2018, the state legislature passed Senate Bill 35, which is designed to speed housing developments by reducing the power city councils have to reject housing projects. The 831 Water Street project is an example of this. Santa Cruz City Council members largely approved 831 Water under pressure and fear of a lawsuit. Do you agree with the state's policy of overriding local authority to approve and expedite housing, or are you going to try to change it? How are you going to maintain as much local control as possible while still tackling the urgent need to build housing? And I think, Gail, you're first. And then Rob and Joe, and we'll come back to you.
Okay, tough question, thank you. As I've been out walking precincts and talking to voters, I'm hearing a lot of concern about housing overrides passed by the legislature. My understanding of the purpose of these bills, of course, is to generate the much needed housing for California and making sure that people who work here can also afford to live here. There are many different viewpoints on how and if these laws will have an impact on meeting our housing shortage and how it will impact our communities. I have not had the benefit of sitting through the hearings and hearing the testimony on these bills, so I do know that they're controversial, and my practice has always been to reach out to jurisdictions and neighborhood groups affected to learn their opinion before casting a vote. The reality is that this is now the law, and at this point, these laws are being implemented, and we are in the position to see what impact they're going to have on our communities. So changes need to be made. I will want to explore those changes if elected to the state assembly. I will also want to work with the local communities to understand the ideas on how to address the critical housing shortage that we have. We need to work together to build strong and vibrant communities that meet the needs of our residents. Our housing shortage is a complex issue. It requires a lot more deliberation and outreach to cities, and that's exactly what I'll do if elected to the state assembly.
Okay.
So this is a difficult problem in Los Gatos. We also had, actually, I think we might have been the ones that caused SB 35, where we tried to deny a project, and they decided to tighten it up even more on us. It is a challenge. There are some potentially good laws and there's some bad laws. I wanted to touch on SB 9, which is one that allows the subdivision of lots, and we're definitely, that's not working very well in Los Gatos. We already have people trying to subdivide there are large lots in the hills to build another $4 million home. That doesn't solve the problem of the target of that bill. I would look for other solutions instead of more what I call stick bills, making jurisdictions build housing. One of my ideas I think that can have the biggest effect is the government to use its bully pulpit to strongly encourage companies to allow employees to work remotely. I have a friend that works at Google, recently moved to Oregon, that freed up a house. So by doing this, we can take some pressure off of the housing. I know some CEOs that have told me that they found their workers were actually more productive during the pandemic when they let them work from home, when they could eat breakfast with their families, take their kids to school, and then they're working all the rest of the time. They don't have to commute. When we do build houses, I would focus them in the right kinds of places, and they would be dense housing that's going to be at lower cost, but are easier on infrastructure. Thanks.
This is a big problem for Santa Cruz. People are not only being evicted currently in the city, but they're losing their investments in their houses. And specifically, I worked with the Student Housing Coalition, not only to foster community developments, but to work with students and engaging them in their lives and really fighting for what they believe in. And I've worked with the students on the 831 Water Street project. I worked with them on multiple housing projects where we pressured City Council to approve these affordable housing units. And when it comes down to it, we need real solutions that work for real people. While door knocking on a university, we have 9% of UC Santa Cruz students are homeless, and we're not doing anything about it. There is not a single City Council member who is putting forward real solutions. So I do believe that we need the state to step up. We need the state to step up past SB 886 and say enough is enough. We need to fix the student housing crisis. If we're truly going to be investing in education, providing affordable housing, and making sure we invest in our future, we need to make sure we're starting at the grassroots level and building affordable housing, not only to house students, but to house members of the community. Obviously, having UC Santa Cruz here in the community makes it harder for anyone in the community to get a home. And that includes students, that includes people who have been there here their entire lives. And when it comes down to it, we need to be working towards real solutions that are going to provide people homes. And another thing that I've been supporting and have been canvassing for is an empty home tax. This would not only create more affordable housing, but create a dedicated fund fixing the huge homelessness problem we have in the city as well. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, sorry there.
All right, well, first of all, affordable housing is more expensive to build than market rate housing because of existing policies. In order for it to be affordable, you have to get state and federal funding, which comes with strings attached, which drive the costs up. Well-intended environmental policies also do the same. They've driven the cost of land up and materials up. SB 9 and stripping cities of local control is not the answer. Local jurisdictions know what's best for their communities. They know what their challenges are, whether it's wildfire, hillsides, ingress, egress, transportation. I would plan on streamlining the policies, the existing policies that have created this problem. I don't want to strip cities of local control and residents have a voice. And I want to make sure that any policies the state does have takes into consideration the unique characteristics of each community, thereby setting up each local jurisdiction for success. Because right now we're set up for failure, and that's not going to help anybody. And besides that, SB 9 does not create affordable housing. Thank you.
You want to respond to that, Rob, or? It's okay. Okay, great. California, we'll move on to the next question. Which is about the state budget. California has a $68 billion surplus right now. A pretty enviable position to be in, $68 billion surplus. But we're also a feast for famine state, many of you know. Sometimes we have budget surpluses and sometimes we have deficits. Former Governor Jerry Brown was a proponent of a rainy day fund, keeping some funds aside for famine years. What's your view? Given the surplus, what are your top 3 spending priorities? What percentage of your surplus should you put away? And should any go back to taxpayers? Rob, you're first.
Thank you for the question. So first of all, on the rainy day fund, I'm definitely somebody that likes to see rainy day funds since we do go up and down. This year, the stock market's not doing very well, so I expect our coffers to not be as full in the next year. Priorities, first place I would go is education, and they are going there pretty heavily with education. We've been well underfunded, and now that'll bring up the funding. I would also look for more programs in education around Head Starts programs. Make sure this is, everybody has an opportunity for some kind of Head Start program. It's the best way to lift people from disadvantaged communities up. Another place I would spend is on fire protection. That's been a huge problem in our state. This district has a lot of mountain communities, so we want to make sure that we have adequate vegetation and forest management. And another area, let's solve problems for, well, I go back to the housing issue, right? Put more money into being able to build affordable housing. One of the solutions I think we can use is, instead of, as I mentioned, the stick bills, is let's put together a financing fund to help get more of the affordable housing built. Stop there.
So when it comes to the state's budget, I think we have 3 major priorities that we need to focus on. The first that I would focus on is universal basic income. I want to give you a check for $1,000 every month, no strings attached. We can afford that. And the way you do that is by taxing excessive wealth by 1% for anyone who makes over $2 million. And not only is this progressive policy supported by millions of Americans, we can actually do it in our states. It's been proposed, and the way we need to move forward with it is by allowing this money to go back to the taxpayers. They are struggling right now due to COVID. They're struggling because they're unemployed. They are struggling, and we need to give it back to them. It's the rightful way to use and invest this money. Additionally, we need to invest in education. As I mentioned, we're already struggling students with affordable housing and homelessness. But we need to be building up education, providing free preschool and college for all students across California. We have a massive budget surplus that can be used to really invest in our future. My last priority would be investing in affordable healthcare. I was 16 years old when I first learned that I had been diagnosed with genetic disease, where all my teeth had tons of cavities, and I had to get dental work done. It was estimated over $20,000 out of pocket without health insurance. I want to use the state's budget to invest in a single payer system for all people. Not only can we do this, but we need to ensure that everyone in California has access to affordable health care, and we can do it tomorrow. The reason why this bill got pulled is reprehensible, but we need to be fighting for this for everyone.
You didn't say about the rainy day fund.
Oh, I do support a rainy day fund. We need to be investing to make sure we have that.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, we do have a great budget surplus. My 3 priorities would be to support owner-occupied housing and down payment assistance. We all know that home ownership is the best way to build intergenerational wealth and really uplift our poorest, because we don't want to create a generation of renters. We want people to actually build equity in their homes. I would support that. I would support building facilities to address mental health, homelessness, and addiction, and especially focus on our adolescents. We have very few facilities for our adolescents, and we really need to care for them, and I would consider that preventative care as well. I would also consider investing in our water infrastructure and reservoirs and conveyance, because our population has doubled in the last 40 years, but our infrastructure has not. We are suffering from a serious drought, but this is going to be a regular thing for us, and we need to invest in water capture and manage the water a lot better. Only 10% of residents use water. The rest of it goes to agriculture. 40% of it goes straight into the ocean, and 10% is for commercial. So we really need to focus on that. As for the rainy day fund, I know that Houston is already considering raising it from 35 billion to 43 billion. So he's going to add 8 billion to that. I would like to see more, but I am happy with that. And as for getting a tax refund, it would be lovely for taxpayers to get a tax refund. However, that's wishful thinking right now. So thank you.
Thank you. And just a minute, Rob, I don't think you or Joe mentioned how much you put in the rainy day fund.
So I keep it at the same level. It's enough now. We can really invest in the population to make sure we're investing in our communities.
I don't know, I probably add another 25% to it. I think it's probably a good number.
Thank you. Gail?
So I support a rainy day fund. I don't have the magic number, but I think wherever we are now, we need to increase it. I worked in the state assembly and worked on budget, and much of the budget spending is already fixed by law. Education will receive a significant amount, as it should, since California is in the bottom third in per pupil spending. Some should go to provide financial relief to qualifying California families, but we have to be very mindful of how we spend this surplus. We could be facing very hard budget times very soon. I remember when I was working with the state assembly during the tough budget times when state employees did not get paid for several months and funding was frozen at the state level. So we must be very prudent. However, we have some significant needs that require our immediate attention. So I do believe we're in a housing emergency and funds should go to invest in housing affordability. Surplus money should also go to fund healthcare and mental health care. And we have to invest in climate change to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, fire protection, sea level rise, all these need our attention. But due to the GAN limit, we have constraints on how we can spend the surplus.
We still have a lot of vacant storefronts. Post-COVID, we're still suffering. What are you going to do to support small businesses? I think Joe, you're first.
One of the ways I've been doing outreach is talking to small business owners and being able to understand their issues and problems. Obviously, I've never managed or run a business, and when it comes down to it, you have to learn what these people are dealing with. And one of the local stores that I go to here is called Firefly Coffee House, and I've been talking to the owner there. They've been struggling for a while now, and I think we do need to provide not only services to rebuild small-owned community shops to really allow us to foster in our community, but really looking down into the broader issue of the impact that COVID has had. We have, obviously with the union organizing that's happening across the country, workers are deciding that, we need a living wage. And I think not only do we need to support small business owners, we need to make sure that the workers are getting paid living wage as well. And when it comes down to investing in our community, we need to be adequately allowing small business owners to have the resources necessary to do that. And the state should not only provide funding for that, we need to expand the actual opportunity to start small businesses, allowing newcomers in the field to get loans to be able to found new businesses. There's a lot of needs in this new economy with COVID, and we've seen that it's very easy to start up a new business and get going. But once you get going, how do you have enough support to really finish it out? So investing in our small businesses is a major priority of mine, and getting to know small business community owners, their needs, their struggles, and their priorities has been an important part of this campaign. And I'll continue to fight for them and the workers alongside each other. Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot to mention in the last question that California is 47th worst in the nation in terms of taxpayer return on investment. So going forward, California is the 48th worst in the country for businesses. My dad was Commissioner of Corporations in the late 1960s. He rewrote the Securities Act of 1968, which enabled businesses to incorporate the state of California, which was a business-friendly state at that time. Our small businesses are the backbones of our communities, and they are being crushed by 396,000 regulations, more than double the national average. The second closest state is New Jersey, with something like 275. We must ease these regulations, and we must provide tax relief so that these businesses can remain in their communities and hire employees. EDD fraud, $20 billion worth of that. Our small businesses are being shouldered with that responsibility because California wants to raise the payroll tax to pay for that loss. Again, hurting our small businesses. We are an unfriendly climate. Our policy
the highest cost of living in the nation and the strictest regulations, driving key sectors out of California. So again, we need to provide
to ease those regulations, and we need to embrace our small business community. Thank you.
So yes, small businesses are struggling to hire and reopen due to the pandemic. We need to increase funding for career technical education programs, affordable housing for workers so they can live where they're working, and provide for affordable health care for our workers. We also, a lot of people worked remotely during the pandemic, and I think we need to try to continue to allow that. We do have some broadband issues in the county where working remotely is difficult because there's not a lot of service. And we did see a lot of online sales that during the pandemic that skyrocketed, creating a roadblock for small businesses that did not have the tools to go online. And small businesses face a mountain of regulations, making it difficult to just run their business. So we need to streamline regulations and rationalize regulations for small business. There have been also challenges for small businesses as far as accessing capital. So I support policy solutions to make loans more affordable for small business, especially women and minority-owned businesses. One example is there was a PPE loan offered to businesses that didn't need it, like Amazon, while dentists $25 per patient for PPE. The other big hurdle is unemployment insurance debt, and there's $22 billion right now that we borrow from the state, and we need to address that deficit, and we need to support programs that provide COVID relief. Thank you.
I have been a small business owner, so I understand the pain. When I retired from being an engineer about 5 or 6 years ago, I was already elected to Los Gatos Council, and when my engineering job ended, I decided I was going to double down on basically volunteer work on a lot of different boards and commissions in the government, as I mentioned. And with the little bit of extra time I had, I bought a franchise that I owned for 3.5 years. And in there, I thought my job was to come up with new services and products that, you know, I could increase my revenue. I was continuously frustrated by having to then, you know, fill out some forms or pay for something or get through all of the bureaucracy. So when I was mayor in 2018 in Los Gatos, I made it a priority to try to revitalize, you know, the focus was kind of on our downtown business district. We were losing out competitively to Willow Glen and Santana Row and some of the other, and Campbell. And so we undertook an extensive effort to streamline our processes, remove burdensome regulations, and basically allow businesses to innovate themselves. Another one of the things that was mentioned was, you know, being able to get workers. It was a little bit easier back when I still had my business, but I recall it getting to be more and more challenging just before I sold it. And so things like affordable housing so that more workers can live closer into where the jobs are going to be is going to have to also be a priority to supporting small businesses.
You started the question. Okay, we do actually have a question from the audience, and it says, please ask each candidate to state their political affiliation. So, Liz, that's your easy question on your side. You get to answer.
I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat.
Democrat.
Progressive Democrat.
Okay. We have one more. Are you in support of Assembly Bill, GAIL, this will be yours. Are you in support of Assembly Bill 988, which creates a new crisis hotline? How would you implement and improve this bill?
Do I have 60 seconds? Or?
You have 90 seconds.
90 seconds, okay. So absolutely, my family has been profoundly impacted by mental health, and I'm super excited about the 988 emergency number going into effect on July 16th. The reality is, though, that the funding for the bill is held up in Assembly Bill 988 that's in the state legislature. So basically what this is going to be is a hotline that we want to provide for, you know, someone to call, someone to come, somewhere to go. So we got the call piece down, and the governor's put $20 million in the budget to fund it, and the suicide hotlines will be responding, but we're still having those missing pieces of someone to come and somewhere to go. And so mobile mental health care is essential, 24/7, 365. And right now in Santa Cruz County, we have MIRDI program, the Mobile Emergency Response Team, and the Y is for youth. And those are available, but they're only available for certain hours. I think it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. They're trying to extend it to the weekend. We do need to look at the data to see when these calls are coming in and what needs to be done. And then, of course, somewhere to go. So we need to have those mental health services where people have a place to go. In Santa Cruz County, we don't have any beds for youth. They have to go up to Alameda County to get care. So we need to do a lot of investment to make sure that mental health services are provided for our community.
Take your time up, Emily. Our timer. Oh, sorry. Oh, wait. No, sorry.
I had
I'm
15
so sorry.
seconds,
I
but
was like, where
I
is
will
she?
end there.
So sorry. Sorry, we actually had a few seconds left. I'm sorry. Okay.
I'll get my time back.
Rob.
So this is a question for all of us? Okay. So I also agree, mental health is extremely important. I see it as part of a cycle that brings people down, ultimately affecting homelessness or people ending up in jail. You can imagine, particularly in poorer communities where it's difficult to get help, or you're even, you have a dislike or distrust is probably a better word of officials like police and so forth. And so what may end up happening is people turning to drugs for relief because they can't get the access to the mental health. Then they get into the justice system, which is going to increase their stress and their mental health, accentuated anyway. And so you can see how this can quickly be a downward spiral. So I'm for getting more mental health services to our community. One thing we've started in Santa Clara County that I really like, and we need to get more funding for it, is trying to focus and get training for more local community members that can help provide that, particularly in these communities where distrust of officials is lower, for example. So training for maybe EMT people or maybe even firefighters, people or other local nonprofits where people can feel more comfortable. Thanks.
So I absolutely support this program, and not only do we need to expand upon it, but we need to get it more funding. We need to allow for alternate forms of policing to really help these homeless populations. Santa Cruz has the highest homeless rate per capita in the entire United States. This is the crisis that we're dealing with right here in the city. As a barista at Ocean Water, every day I interact with this community, and a lot of them are dealing with mental health issues, and we have zero ways to actually solve the problem now. And it's been devastating for me. They walk in every day and they're, I talk to them. They're getting their waters, and I had one homeless person who came in who had been stabbed, and having to deal with the violence that is happening in this city has been impactful on me. And I think that not only do we need to have resources, but really investing in solving this issue, because it does affect people. And these are people who live in this community who have had their luck down. And while volunteering with the organization Food Not Bombs, I have again learned that this organization is fighting for people to get fed. And there's a lot of people in this community who are down on their luck, and they're being priced out of their homes, they're being evicted, and there's not a system that allows them to build themselves up again. I think we really need to invest in both parts. You need to invest in the mental health care access and alternate forms of policing, but also invest in social safety nets to really allow for people to build themselves up after they have been knocked down. Thank you.
Yes, I absolutely agree that mental health is incredibly important, and having had a daughter go through some real struggles and being in a 5150 at an adolescent psych ward, I can tell you how scary it is. And here in Northern California, we only have one adolescent psych ward, and it's, like Gail said, in Fremont. We are woefully underprepared for our adolescents who are really struggling. So yes, a crisis hotline, absolutely. We would need to make sure that the agencies involved have the resources they need to be effective. We need to make sure that we can measure its outcomes and its success. Mental health is critical, and we need to really focus on preventative health care. And that means in our curriculums, in our schools, expanding adolescent psych beds, providing families like mine with the resources and the help they need to help their child when they come home, because I tell you, it is scary. You don't know what to do for your child. So being able to have those resources and the support is critical to making sure that our young kids, our adolescents, will be healthy in the future. And again, this will go a long way in preventing future addiction and homelessness. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask a couple of individual questions. I'm going to ask you each a question just specifically targeted to your campaign and to things that I've looked at in your policies and maybe haven't seen and I'm wondering about myself. And I think some of our audience might be wondering too. So I'm going to start with you, GAIL. You have an impressive track record and a reputation here in Santa Cruz County. You've spoken forcefully about women's rights, voting rights, mental health issues, but I haven't seen anything about your commitment to climate change or your policies on environmentalism. So if you could just speak to that a little bit.
Happy to. Yeah, we're in a crisis, an existential crisis right now on climate, and we need to take action immediately. I want to give a shout out to the Climate Action Program that Tiffany Wise West runs in the city of Santa Cruz. It's phenomenal. They're so far ahead of the game on addressing these issues. We need to do water solutions and conservation. So that's coming down where we're having to make sure that every drop of water is precious and we need to conserve it. We need to use gray water. We need to use reuse systems. Water quality. We have many people living in this country that have very poor water quality, so we need to be focusing on that as well. And as far as greenhouse gas emissions, California's done really well so far to drop from 14 tons to 10.5, but there's much more to do, and I only have 15 seconds. Okay, and electrifying transportation, electrifying buildings, and buying food locally, reducing meat and dairy, and in Santa Cruz, of course, we have sea level rise, and that's my time.
That's it, right. Okay, and Liz, you're next, and a little bit the same question. Your policies are not, I haven't seen as much on mental health from you, but what you just talked about your own experiences as a mother, that's very moving. I have seen you talk a lot about public safety, especially, and your role as in galvanizing your own city and in organizing and getting people together. But environmentalism and climate change, I haven't seen your stance on, so if you could elaborate.
Well, climate change is real. We are coming off of an ice age, and we as humans have exacerbated that and sped that up. If we are serious about keeping the Earth from heating up another 1 degree over the next 50 years, we need to use every tool in our toolbox, and that includes nuclear energy. It is clean, it is safe, it is inexpensive, and it is durable. And while we must pursue renewables like solar and wind, which we're doing right now these are not affordable, nor are they reliable. We've all had power shutoffs. We actually have, a Bloom Energy report recently told us that there was a 34% rise in diesel generator purchases in the last 3 years. And these generators spew out more smog than anything. So again, these policies, we need to actually have transitional power, and that would be nuclear. And I am pleased to see that Governor Newsom has decided to keep Diablo Canyon open. That will go a long way in providing durable, clean power. Thank you.
Okay, Rob, you're next. The opposite, of course, you're a climate activist, so I'm not going to ask you about your environmental record. You're an engineer with experience as mayor of a small town. In your case, I haven't seen, you did address the 988 question, but I haven't seen that much on healthcare, mental health, or addiction and homelessness. So if you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Okay, well, let me focus on homelessness. I see homelessness as a complex problem with many pieces. As fast as we house some homeless people, it seems like more become homeless, and we're kind of running in place. So I think the solution to that is trying to get more very basic, simple homes that we can use for quickly rehousing people that may be becoming homeless, or getting those off the street that maybe don't need as much service but just need a safe place to be able to sleep and get their lives back together and be able to hold down a job. I think you can imagine how difficult it would be to hold a job down if you had to sleep in a car or sleep outside somewhere. The other pieces to the homeless problem are also mental health care, as you mentioned. There's a large number of people that are homeless that have curable or treatable mental health care, and if we could just get more, time up already?
Okay, yep. All right, and Joe, last but not least, you are so young. It's hard to ask you about your record. It's a little bit unfair to demand experience out of you. You have done remarkable things in the past few years, particularly in Santa Cruz, already made a huge difference. But voters are going to be wondering, how are you going to navigate Sacramento? Right? You need to know the intricacies of deal making, and you don't have connections or experience in doing that.
Well, to me, I would first like to address the environmental issue. You know, my generation is going to be facing the brunt of the environmental crisis. It is an existential threat, and there's a very real likelihood that I will have to be facing that in my lifetime. And when it comes to the actual politics of Sacramento, you know, it's daunting. You know, I'm only 19 years old, but you know, I've proven that I can take on billionaires, I can take on a $1 billion corporation, I can take on Littner Mendelsohn, which is the largest union-busting firm in the United States. I won. And you know, I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm fully ready to take on the fight, and you know, I'm a fighter, and I will go down fighting for my generation, because you know, if I don't put up a fight, if I don't stand up and fight for what I believe in, there's a real possibility that this generation, my generation, Generation Z, will live in an uninhabitable world. And we have a real chance. We have 3 years to act on climate change. We need to address homelessness. We need to address all these different issues. And you know, career politicians have not been in our favor. They have not been helping us at all.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Yep. Okay, you didn't get the Sacramento piece in, but we know that you're a climate activist. All right, really fast. What about policing? Policing. 30 seconds to answer this question. This is an audience question. What statewide actions do you support to re-envision policing? 30 seconds each, really fast. We're running out of time. I can't remember whose turn it is. Yours? Okay.
Probably
Good.
not.
All right. Policing. 30 seconds.
So I would say in Los Gatos we have a police force, and what we've done is made sure that they were trained and skilled in techniques like de-escalation and handling mental health calls, and then trying to get them more assistance from professional mental health professionals, and also making sure that they have all the equipment they need. When police are feeling safe, they can help make sure that other people are safe also. In Los Gatos, we also created an oversight process, citizens oversight process. So I would do the same kinds of things from the state to aid this.
30 seconds, sorry, it's quick. We only have 30 because we're out of time, so we're rushing this one.
So yeah, one of the things I would really focus on policing is ending Program 1033, which allows for the military transfer of arms sales from the Department of Justice to Santa Cruz. We need to stop the we need to demilitarize the police in Santa Cruz, and we need to expand on the accountability of the police. Specifically, there's 0 excessive complaints that have been upheld at the Santa Cruz Police Department, and over 75% of the arrests that have been made have been for low misdemeanor crimes. This is a crisis, and we need to hold the bad cops accountable and reward the people who are actually serving the communities that we live in. Thank you.
All right, well, we share a police department with Los Gatos, and Los Gatos Montserrat Police Department is doing an outstanding job. We have a great new police chief who is dedicated to best practices in policing, so we completely support that. We need to make sure that our officers and law enforcement agencies have the tools and resources they need to effectively and thoughtfully enforce the law, reflective of their communities. Thank you.
So yes, we must reform our criminal justice system to improve public safety. Crime prevention is key. We got to address the root causes of mental health, substance abuse, poverty, and huge numbers of illegal guns in wrong hands. We also need to have support good policing with recruiting, training, and funding, and we must look at victims' rights as well and make sure that we break this cycle and provide rehabilitation to those who are incarcerated.
Thank you. Great. All right, now we're almost done. Quick lightning round, and we are going to be done. So I'm just asking you 4 quick questions. You have a 1 or 2 word response, and we'll go right down the line. Okay. All right. Who's first? I think it's Joe, right? Okay. What is your favorite happy place in the district on the other side of where you live?
There's one spot. It's actually it's in Los Gatos. It's one of the parks that I went to when I was first visiting here. It was a great park. I forgot the name.
Okay.
It's a great park.
Great park in Los Gatos. Okay, maybe Rob, you can help out. You probably, I don't know. You've got probably lots of nice parks.
I don't know, might be Bachman or Belgados.
All right. I guess we'll go back then this way to Liz.
Tacos Morenos on water.
Other side is going to be here. Favorite place? place?
It was a winery I went to in Morgan Hill. It was great.
Okay.
And mine's weird. I'm a bicyclist, so I actually enjoy climbing Zayante to get back to Los Gatos.
Okay. All right, here we go. Liz, what is your superpower of choice?
Mind
Have any mind reading? Okay.
Empathy.
And
Is this a superpower?
yeah, what superpower do you wish you had?
Get people to come to consensus.
That's
That's a good one.
Definitely invisibility.
Okay. Okay. All right. It's Gail's turn. Favorite late night spot.
I don't go out late at night, I'm sorry.
Might be your bed. Okay, home. That's fine.
I don't go out late as much, but I do like to dance. So #1 Broadway in Los Gatos is a place that people my age typically go out.
Okay, and Joe.
Penny's ice cream. I spend way too much time there.
Okay. All right. Cool.
My couch with my husband and my 2 yellow labs.
Woo. Okay. Last one is whose turn is it? I can't remember. Who's where are we, Rob? It's you. Who is a leader you admire and would like to model yourself on?
That one's always hard. I actually liked Bill Clinton. I like the way he was able to actually, before he got into trouble, tend to pull people together and get things done.
The reason I got into politics is it's the person I admire the most, Bernie Sanders. He's my favorite.
Liz?
Oh, so many, but I'd have to say that I know this is sappy, but my mom, she was, she handled 4 kids and tons of dogs and horses and a husband so well and all with such grace, and I present myself that way as well. Thank you.
I would say Michelle Obama. She's bold, she's courageous, and she's smart.
All right. Thank you so much for the lightning round. Thank you for the panel for answering questions, for coming out. And we are going to take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back. We're going to get rid of 1 chair.